Yeah, the second that our spouse complains, what we do? All right, yeah, fuck it. Right? Yeah, fuck him. I don't even like him anyway. Right? Because they don't know how to come back at that. Happy wife, happy home. So the easiest thing is to say, yeah, never mind, I don't like it anyway. But that's the truth of it all. And how often do we actually position ourselves to be given that excuse simply because we weren't empathetic enough to understand that we just needed to position ourselves? So not only are you wasting the company's dime on these damn marketing leads that cost a lot, but you're also not giving yourself the opportunity to actually truly close that sale. So making that slight adjustment will improve your close ratio, but also get you full compliance.
All right, guys, so let's all welcome Dan.
Appreciate it. Cool, so what's up, guys?
What up?
Appreciate you guys taking the time. I'm gonna take a couple minutes to not only drop some fire for you, but I'm gonna really kind of just, again, like what he said was freestyle because I didn't really prepare for today's meeting, but who I can talk to is I could talk to the salesman, right? Because I'm a salesman myself. Even though currently right now I am a sales manager, I'm a producing sales manager. And with New American Funding, in case you guys haven't heard of the company, we're a national size, multi-billion-dollar scale company, and I currently lead the #1 sales team. So highest in volume, highest in average funded units, highest in average originations. And I'm not gonna take all the credit, but what I am going to say is that there are certain habits that you can adopt that by choice, if you simply adopt these habits, you can dramatically increase the results that you get as well as the income that you receive. So a little bit about myself. I've been in the industry, when I first got in, I started as a telemarketer. Any telemarketers here? Yeah, right. All right, so when I started as a telemarketer, it was before the NMLS requirement, and I was really good at getting social security numbers. And I worked for a subprime company called AmeriQuest. Subprime company, they sold very high interest rates, 2-year adjustable programs with 3-year prepays at a very high interest rate. And that's why ultimately they got shut down, is because they're predatory lending. But what I learned from that company was how to sell in a different way, how to sell benefit, not sell rate. And a lot of your competitors, a lot of your competition right now is actually selling rate. They're order takers. And so the difference between, my content versus every other content that's available on social media is, number one, is it's actually devoted directly to loan officers, particularly because the language is our language. But it has a lot to do with covert persuasion. And covert persuasion is just really understanding the dynamics of how human psychology makes their decisions and their buying decisions, right? And so fast forward, I started when I was 21 as a telemarketer, got promoted very quick, and became a manager, but failed hardcore. I was a better salesman at the time. I wasn't old enough to become a manager to lead. And so as a salesman, though, back in that time, when there was really no regulations, I was in an era where you can easily clock 75 to 100 grand each month. But I was 26 years old. I had no idea what to do with that money besides burn it up. This is back in the day with Sutra. Remember Sutra? Yeah. See, that kind of dates me, makes me feel a little bit old. But I had multiple cars. I had a big fat house, and my monthly nut at the time was about 30 grand. And when the market crashed, I actually jumped out of real estate. But nonetheless, I used the same principles in different fields, like high executive recruiting, selling paving stones, and it all worked very effectively for me because what it was human psychology. It had nothing to do with mortgage or selling rates and selling options. And so in today's meeting, what I'm gonna do is actually share with you some really helpful tips, like some tips that is going to help you bypass decades of trial and error. And you have a choice where you can be open-minded and take some of these principles and these methods and actually apply them, or you can look at it and say, yeah, but that's just not me. At the end of the day, a loan officer gets paid enough to where even if it wasn't me, I'm gonna make it me. Make sense? Because you have an opportunity to make more income than probably everyone in your family and most people who have 8-year degrees make. So right now, if you're not killing it in this current market, and I'm talking about killing it, you're either one, you suck, or number two is you're just not following the content and you're not actually prepared to deal within this climate. And so I hope it's not one, I hope it's not that you suck, but at the end of the day, whether you do suck or you don't, I'm gonna share with you some tips that's really gonna sharpen your blade so that you know how to hunt, okay? So currently right now, with the company that I've been there for 6 years, coming on next month. And right now on average, our team is producing over 150 million. So every single agent, I only have a team of 10, and every single agent is producing north of 20 units. And 20 units will net them, or I should say, give them commission income of north of 40 grand. So every single agent within my team is making $500,000 per year. This is including their base and their overtime. And the funny thing is that they're not stretching themselves out. You used to work with me, so you had an opportunity to actually see the team that I work with. And what I'm talking about is that they're not there for 16, 12-hour days. They're not sacrificing their weekends. Although those that sacrifice their weekends are really making more for their buck. But at the end of the day, I got some people who have children, and they want to experience their freedom because they've earned it. So whatever situation you're in, whether you have children or whether you have financial obligations that require you to sacrifice your weekends, get it in. Because all you're trying to do is create a system using the Titan platform that works for you rather than you work for it. You get it? So I think it's fair to say that every mortgage company, whether it's mine or whether it's yours, has its own cycle. It has its own processing engine. And that processing engine is something that you just need to master. And the goal of every single day is to feed that engine, right? So if you think about your loan origination process, really what you're dealing with is a conveyor belt. So you're taking a loan, you're putting on the conveyor belt, and then it goes through different stations. It goes to, I don't know if you guys got junior processors or processors, then it goes to underwriting, and then it goes to funding, and then it goes to escrow and signing and notary, right? So this is repetitive. And one thing that took me a long time to really adopt and understand was that the things that I'm going through is gonna happen 10 times, if not 20 times the following month. And that applied to everything from fires that I dealt with to issues that I dealt with, clients that canceled on me, I was dealing with the same thing, objections, most in particular. And so what can we take away from that? What we could take away from that is every single fire that you put out, or every single, I would say, not only objection, but reason as to why you lost is not a defeat, but it's a preview to how to do it better the next time. And so the next time you go into that sales cycle, not only are you prepared, but you're in a better position, and the key word is position. And that's what we're gonna emphasize in today's session. You're in a position to be more efficient as you proceed, because an efficient loan officer doesn't need to work more than 10 hours per day to clock over $500,000 per year in this industry. I know loan officers right now clocking 8 hours per day. They don't take lunch, but they're doing their solid 8 hours and they're clocking north of 400 grand right now. And that type of income, you might be thinking, well, D, I'm okay. I don't need 400 grand. Yeah, you do. Because until you experience that 400 grand, you'll find reasons as to why you need it, right? But the funny thing is, and I don't think it applies to this crowd, is that there are agents who will make 125 and be straight with it. They'll be cool with it. Like, the fuck are you in this industry for, bro? Like, you are licensed to sell money. And if you're licensed to sell money, what we all have to understand is that all people want is money. Because opportunity comes from having the financial freedom to buy yourself the time, buy yourself the opportunity, right? And so I guess what I'm trying to get at, and we'll open up into an open forum because I really want to answer some questions and make it a little bit direct, but also because I didn't necessarily prepare for this meeting. I thought we're actually going to have a roundtable. Is I want to tell you the experience that I've had and why I'm grateful to still be in real estate. Besides the income and besides the ability to generate wealth very quickly, it all comes down to, number one, is how dedicated are you to put in the time to earn your spot? right? So even though you can make 20 grand very easily and be kind of a mediocre agent, the question is, can you make 50? Can you make 60? If you don't have anything else to manage, and just keep in mind, I currently manage a team of 10 plus agents. So I'm managing 10 different pipelines, and that's what, at least 200 loans. So anytime that there's a fire, it comes to me. Anytime there's an issue, it comes to me. Anytime there's a second voice, comes to me. And currently right now, myself, I'm producing just myself over 15 loans per month. That's separate to the rip that I receive from my team. And I'm not saying that to brag. What I'm saying is it's an opportunity to position yourself to have the same exact thing, right? And so it goes down to just the little finest details. The matter of fact, like right now, and you can attest, because in New American Funding, not everyone is required to wear a suit. But there's a reason that I decide to wear a fucking $2,000 Ted Baker suit as opposed to just going in with some Kohl's. It's because it starts with mindset. It starts with your decision to be a little bit different, hold yourself to a different caliber. Does that make sense? It really starts with understanding that it's a choice. And so I have a choice. I can go into work technically with some nice jeans and a nice polo shirt, but it all starts with your mindset. And so if there's something I could tell you to take away from this, is that your mindset is going to create what's called momentum. And in order to sustain or gain traction within this industry, and when I talk about sustain, is you might be killing it right now. You might be receiving more income than you have in the last years or ever in your entire life. But in order to maintain that versus go through that roller coaster effect type income results, or in order to even get to the heights where you're making the income that you dream of, you have to create momentum. And in order to create momentum, you basically need to practice a couple good habits. A couple good habits go everything from talk time, being efficient with your time, understanding your time zones, licensing, and how you're actually presenting and when you're presenting your sales pitch. Again, it's all about positioning. And so I'm going to cover that with you in the importance of positioning, because when you think of sales and you think of origination, I want you to flip your definition on that. So instead of thinking that you are a salesman, I want you to look at it in a way where you are a consultant. You are a licensed subject matter expert. And so you're not dealing with a car salesman, you're dealing with like a contractor or a CPA or a doctor. And there's a difference when you deal with one or the other, because a salesman is just trying to make a fast transaction. The salesman is trying to push options to you. Keyword is options. Whereas a consultant is more or less trying to solve a problem. So the key difference between the two is that a salesman sells, whereas a consultant or a successful loan officer or a consultant will actually be more interested in solving a problem. And I think that in itself, just making that slight switch will give you more favorable results, because it exudes through your delivery. It exudes through your tonality and how you deliver your message. Because you're not ignoring all of these subtle clues as well as the true reasons as to why they need to get that solution from you. You get it? So I'm gonna share with you a couple things reasons as to why most loan officers fail. And then hopefully you can have enough awareness and not so much ego where you could pick it up and say, yeah, I'm guilty of that. So I'm gonna switch it up and I'm gonna try this way. But the key thing is that when you first try it this way, sometimes it might sound off. You might be like, yo, but D said it better. The only reason why I say it better is because it's repetitive. I've been doing, this is my language. This is something that I'm very comfortable with. And the few times that you try it, you may not sound as good, or you may sound different. And the only reason why is because it's foreign. But I want you to peel back the layers and understand why it works. So make it sound like you, choose your wording, your verbiage, and just understand that the concept of it works, okay? So today I had a meeting with some of our loan agents, and we talked about 3 core topics. The very first topics were how to attract 5 to 8 new loans or extra loans every single month. And I had a audience that was made up of not only seasoned veterans, but junior loan officers. So these people didn't necessarily have a book of business. And there's two ways to attract 5 to extra units per month, and you have to really think about it. Like like what would that do to my income? What would that do to my paycheck if I funded an extra 5 to 8 units? And you guys know your commission rips, you can understand and do the quick math. But for the junior agents, how it applied to them was that there are certain things within the sales process that I refer to as climatic points. Climatic points are things that bring your client to a climatic state. A climatic state, for those of you who don't really understand that, climatic state is where their senses and their emotions are at a high, at a very positive height. So a climatic experience could be for your prospect, understanding that their appraised value came in 40 grand higher than they thought, right? They feel good about that. Another climatic experience could be that they're approved to go to docs. And so this means that they're done. It's very happy. Another climatic state would be that they're loan funded. And so I'm allow you to use your creativity on know when to implant these. But when you reach these climatic points, even if you're a new loan officer, these are prime times to ask for a referral. Because when you deliver good news, it's human nature to want to reciprocate the favor. Get it? So if you called your client and said, hey, I got great news, Jim. I know we estimated $430,000 on your appraised value. Your property came in at 480. Man, your area is doing awesome. I want to congratulate you because you had $50,000 extra in equity that you didn't even know about. Again, I'm now positioning them in climatic state, right? And say, hey, Jim, because your property value is doing so good, talk to your neighbors. If you know anyone else that wants to learn about how to use their equity to their advantage or position them properly for financial well-being, have them call me. And you have to add this disclaimer because the reason why a lot of people don't refer is because they're fearful that you're going to tell them that they got a 530 FICO, that you're going to tell them that they wanted to, that they're living check to check and then they need to consolidate 30 grand in credit card debt. So what I like to say is that, our relationship is much like an attorney relationship, meaning we have an attorney, like you would have an attorney privilege. There's something called the loan consultant privilege, meaning I am not able to share any of your information, so it's all confidential. As a matter of fact, it would be illegal if I shared any of your personal information. It would actually cancel out my license. And all that does is just give them assurance that you're not going to say to their neighbor that they're living check to check and they have a late payment on their mortgage. You get it? Another way would be like when the loan is finally done. So when the loan is finally done, sometimes we just forward it over an email because we have 109 different things to do, right? And so like, hey, you're clear for docs. When can the notary contact you? But that's leaving money on the table. Because you have to understand that these people have been waiting in process for about a good 6 weeks. So to deliver the message in a different way, such as, hey Jim, I got to talk to you. Hey Jim, I appreciate you taking the time. Hey, remember when we talked about, creating the cash flow, giving you consolidation, helping you rebuild your credit, helping you replenish your FICO score, your bank account, and putting you on track to pay this house off sooner? Well, it's finally going to become realized. We have now been approved to actually go to documents, so we're going to put everything in writing, right? And so that brings them again to the climatic state and say, hey, you know what? I'm so happy for you because we're finally able to kickstart these new terms. You're not going to have a payment the next month. You're going to get an escrow refund. You're going to get a lot of cash just in time for the holidays. I'm super excited for you. Hey, I was curious, do you know anyone else who would like these type of benefits, who could use some financial advice that I was able to provide for you? Again, we have a confidential relationship, so I can never share what you did. I can never share anything about your transaction, but my goal is to help other homeowners within your community. So if you know anyone, please have them call me, and it's very simple. I can give them the same exact information. The reason why that's worth putting that extra 2 minutes in is because that's going to yield you more contacts. And the easiest deals to flip are referrals because these people are already kind of they have this rapport that's already embedded in. So if their neighbor worked with you, they're comfortable to working with you. Get it? And that can pick you up an extra couple deals, if not every week, every month. But to the seasoned veterans who has a pipeline and has already funded a couple loans, one of the most valuable things that I can teach you about is something called rewrites, retreads. So if you've been originating loans for, let's say, at least 6 months, you have a pipeline right now of your past funded clients that you funded 6 months ago in a completely different market climate. And so these people are either FHA, they may have just bought their house, or they're eligible for a streamlined refinance. Also, these people may have done a cash out refinance and they are at a higher interest rate. So with the lower market interest rate right now, you could flip them very easily. Now, this is also going to serve value to you because as you present your sales presentations, now you know how to plant seeds so that you can position yourself. Again, keyword is position yourself. So how you can position yourself where they're already expecting that in the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to contact them back and help improve their terms again. Because most of the transactions that we do typically are cash out refinances, right? These people are paying off debt. And the reason why they're doing that is because they're living beyond their means. Everyone is bougie bourgeois. Everyone wants that fancy name brand or whatever. And that's okay. That keeps us alive and that keeps us in business. But what we do typically and how we leave money on the table is we don't actually plant seeds to position ourselves for a rewrite in 6 to 12 months. And how you do that is when you pitch your loan product, you're already talking about it. And this will also help you sell a higher interest rate and higher fees. And how you do that is, everyone sees the advertisement for 3.25 30-year fix right now, right? But let's say you got a program for cash out debt consolidation, you're like 4.875 right now. And it's much different. So how you're doing it is you're just making sure that they understand that that's not the end of the road. All that does is become their vehicle to bring them from where they are now to where they want to go. And where they want to go is debt-free, $1,000 in extra cash flow, more money in the bank, a built-up FICO, and positioned to pay off their house sooner than later. And so the idea is to show them and make them experience that destination, but also let them know that within 6 to 12 months, you set your CRM up in a way where you are automatically notified that when that time comes or any market improvement happens or property values within their zip code increase, and the second that you can help improve their term, you're on the phone with them automatically. That's so comforting, right? Now they're not looking at the 4.875 or the 5.25 as the one all be all. That's not the final destination. That's simply the bridge to get to where they want to go. But the key is that then you tell them after 6 to 12 months, your FICO score will be north of 760. You'll have at least 12 months of living in your bank. You'll have you'll be in a position where not only will you be debt free, but then you'll have an opportunity to pay off your mortgage possibly 7 years sooner. So if I write you on a 30-year note after a year, and then I take you down to, let's say, a 25 or a 20, now I get to creatively create savings. That doesn't even really apply to them, right? So in a year from now, I could take you from your 29 years left to 20. Then you take 9 times 12 times their PITI. What's that, 180 grand? So in less than a year, I could position you to save over $180,000 in payments. What do you think about that, Jim? What do you think they're gonna say? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, got it. So this is the first step. We need to get you there first. Now it becomes a collaboration, it's not a pitch. You get it? And that enables you to create momentum. So when you create the momentum and you want to be able to get yourself in a position where you're funding 15, 20 plus units, it's by way of again, playing chess. It's positioning. You're thinking 2-3 steps ahead. And so the agents that are funding 15 to 20 plus units per month, you'll be shocked that not all of it is new originations. A lot of it has to do with their past funded clients. It's just rewrites and it's referrals. Make sense? Cool. You guys have any questions on that? Good stuff? Okay. Just Just want to check the temperature. See if it's not off and shit. Okay. This is fucking fire right here. Like, damn, I wish I knew this shit. But another thing that we talked about was properly setting up your pitch call. I've been in sales for a long time, a loan officer for a very long time, and I would say the mainstream method of setting up your pitch call sounds something like this. After your initial conversation, you say, okay, what I'm gonna do is put together some options. I'll give you a call back in an hour. Sound right? Does it sound familiar to anybody? Yeah, hell yeah, right? Just own it, bruh. Own it. Don't fight it. Like, only one that can tell you the truth is your paycheck. But what I'm telling you is that there's a much better way to do it, and the proper way to set up your pitch call is everyone here is familiar with e-consents, right? Everyone gets e-consents. Okay, so e-consents is a tool as opposed to a task. And how you can use it as a tool is you use it and save it. So don't shoot it off right when you start to them as a way to see if I can get compliance. That's their first way to listen to what I'm saying, right? Like, hey, give me your e-consent real quick. You actually got to use it as a tool. And so how you use it as a tool is you save it towards the end of the phone call and you ask them and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and work on your disclosures. I don't want to mail it to your house because that'll be 100+ pages with sensitive information like your date of birth and your social, and I don't want to put that in the mail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deliver it electronically, but I need your consent. When will you be at a home computer or a tablet in order to consent electronic delivery? You see how I turn that into a tool? Because it's a covert way of asking them when I can have their undivided attention. Get it? As opposed to saying, hey, can I pitch you an hour when you're still in your cubicle, when you're getting distractions, where time is limited, where you have 9 other things, including emails, meetings, phone calls, everything that's distracting you. And I'm gonna talk about an important decision like the largest debt in your life, and I'm gonna ask you to give me your commitment. Get it? All it is positioning. So if I asked Jim and I said, hey, when will you be at a home computer or a iPad to give me consent to deliver it electronically? He then what? He tells me when he's going to be in position, right? So if I know that he says, oh, I'll be home at 6 o'clock, then I know usually he's got about a half-hour commute home on average. So I can call this dude half hour before he gets home. And I know I'm in his Bluetooth and I got undivided attention. Get it? But I'm gonna go a step further and I'm gonna say, okay, got it. When will your missus or when will your husband be at a home computer or a tablet to give consent? Because I need their permission as well. Even though they're not on the loan, I say, yeah, but because you're married, I need their consent as well. Got it? So the reason why that's effective is because you're bringing both parties in on the line. I'm sure your phone has technical capabilities to do a conference call, right? Don't sleep on that. Because you need people who are there, who are emotionally tied to the ledger, the monthly expense or the budget, to be present at the time that you're pitching your deal, right? Otherwise, they're going to give you that excuse that probably kills a lot of your deals and ends up turning your prospects into ghosts. They don't call you back, they don't answer their phone, and the reason for that is because you left it up to Jim to tell Mildred all the wonderful things you talked about. The problem is Jim can't explain to Mildred the exact benefits as well as you can, because Jim is not a licensed NMLS agent, right? He isn't in sales. He doesn't understand the dynamics of mortgage. He won't be able to understand the objections. For those of us who are married here, the second that our wife bitches or complains, no offense. All right? No offense. But the second that our spouse complains, what we do? All right, yeah, fuck it. Right? Yeah, fuck him. I don't even like him anyway. Right? Because they don't know how to come back at that. Happy wife, happy home. So the easiest thing is to say, yeah, never mind, I don't like it anyway. But that's the truth of it all. And how often do we actually position ourselves to be given that excuse simply because we weren't empathetic enough to understand that we just needed to position ourselves? So not only are you wasting the company's dime on these damn marketing leads that cost a lot, but you're also not giving yourself the opportunity to actually truly close that sale. So making that slight adjustment will improve your close ratio, but also get you full compliance. So how you properly set up your pitch call, again, is identify, when will they be home to give consent, because that becomes their pitch time. How you transition to it is saying this: okay, I'm gonna go ahead and work on your disclosures. You'll receive an email when they're ready for review. If I run into any hiccups or have any questions, I'll call you first before I release them. Guess when that hiccup comes? It comes when they're at their home tablet or their computer, right? So that ultimately becomes the pitch time. Because the key thing again is I'm thinking 3-4 steps ahead. I'm eliminating the objection of them wanting to talk to their spouse. I'm also eliminating the possibility that they're not going to be focused on my message to make a decision to act now and buy from me at that time, right? I'm strategically positioning myself so I know that when I present the information, I can bring them up to a climatic state where they are emotionally bought into my message. And then I can influence them to take action, and I got full control over them. And it's all about proper transitioning into the second, or setting up your pitch call. Is that sinking in, guys?
Yeah.
Some good stuff? All right, yeah. Thank you, appreciate that. And then another topic that we talked about was increasing the close ratio up to 75% of everyone you talk to. So in other words, out of 10 people that you pitch, you'll close a minimum of 7 people. So imagine that. And this method has taken me damn near over a decade and a half to really master. And so for me to unleash it to you guys, I'm gonna give you bits and pieces, and you might be like, but D, what about this, what about that? And that's where the programs come into play. So obviously, salesremaster.com, not only do I give you a free sales script, but I have programs available as well. There's a program called Sales Boost Camp that gives you 4 hours of direct mentoring with me. So I talk to you about your own personal challenges, what you're running into, and it unlocks everything within the Sales Remastered University. So that's always available. And you might be like, well, Daniel, how much does that cost? That shit costs 3 G's. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But 3 G's in exchange to teach you how to earn 40K plus per month is a damn steal, isn't it? See, the problem is though, a lot of people are scared because they're like, but D, money's tight. Well, money's tight for a reason, is because you don't know how to do what you gotta do. And when you learn how to do what you gotta do, then you can literally do what you wanna do. So I'm gonna unlock a method to you, and then I'm open up to open forum of how to increase your close ratio. So the reason why this method works is because the traditional method of how loan officers present their options, this is how their pitch call starts. Hey Jim, this is Daniel. I put some options together. You got a pen and paper? Sound familiar? Hell yeah, right? Each and every single one of y'all are giving yourself a handicap. You're not positioning yourself properly. And this one method will completely change your life, but also change your income bracket. And it's starting off your pitch this way. Hey Jim, this is Daniel. Hey, I was actually just about to release your disclosures, and I found something. I want to run it by you first before I send it out to get your feedback. Before I do, is Mildred available? Put me on speakerphone. I already know that they're available. Why? Exactly. I was more covert. I didn't say, when will you and your wife be able to be available to make a decision? Some people say that, and you're putting them on guard. But they throw me on speakerphone, and then the key thing is that I need to reframe them. Reframe them means I need to put them back into the emotional state where they need my service, they need my solution. So instead of going in and saying, hey, Jim, I got options for you, grab a pen and paper, so much things could have happened within the time gap from the initial application to your pitch presentation, right? The kids probably threw 19 tantrums, Jim got cut off in traffic, Mildred probably got in a fight with Jim. There's so many different things that throw them off. So you just to start spitting information to them, it's not necessarily the best strategy because they're not in a position where they need you anymore. So reframing them sounds something like this. Hey Jim, is Mildred there? Can you throw me on speakerphone? Hey Mildred, this is Daniel. I had a chance to talk to your husband Jim earlier today, And he shared with me, you know, the need to create cash flow to pay off the 30 grand in credit card debt. He mentioned that you guys are only paying minimum payments, and because you're only paying minimum payments, it's actually weighed on your FICO score. He also mentioned to me that you guys barely hold $1,000 in the bank after everything is paid, and you guys are living check to check with 4 independents in the household. He also did mention to me that primary goal was to keep this house long term, pay it off, and then create some sort of nest egg so that you with 4 children has something to rely on. I just properly framed both of them. Not only that, but I gave Jim kudos because Mildred's like, damn, Jim, you do listen to me. You see how that works? And so now I got them both ready and primed. And so then I say, because that was important to you, I found something and I just wanted to run it by you first before I send out your disclosures. I want to get your feedback first. You know, because that was important to you, I noticed that the credit bureau comments mentioned a lot of negative comments that gave you your FICO score of 770, right? Even though they got a good FICO, I'm still gonna tear it down. A lot of these credit bureaus were commenting, and this is probably why you only got a 770 FICO, Jim, was because they mentioned that a lot of the credit card balances to high credit limit is too high. The ratio is very high. And I noticed that a lot of your credit cards, you're actually close to its maximum limit. And I wanted to ask you, like this Chase credit card, how much are you paying on that? You know, we're paying about $100. Okay, I see the minimum it's like 75. So basically you're paying the minimum, right? Yeah, I'm paying the minimum. That's gonna keep the comments on there for a pretty long time if you're paying the minimum. Would you agree? Yes. Okay, and you did mention that at the end of every month, you barely have any money to put in the bank and you only got about $1,000, meaning that if an emergency happened, the only thing you would have to rely on is Chase card. But the problem is the Chase card only has about $800 available left on your limit. So what would be your, what would be your plan B? We don't have one, Daniel. It's tough, man. These kids are expensive. You get it? All I'm doing is positioning myself and saying, okay, well, I got an idea and I want to run it by you. I think that what we can do, if you're open to it, is I could show you how to remove all these comments, boost your FICO up from 770 up to close to 800, 850. Show you how to immediately put about 6 to 7 grand inside your bank account, create enough cash savings to where you will replenish any lost money and build up 12 months of pure living, just liquid in your bank within the next 6 months. Not only will this position you where in 6 to 10 months, you can then reduce the life of your loan by about 7 years, which I did the math for you, Jim and Mildred. 7 years is by 12 months, that's about, 84 payments times the $2,000 in principal interest that you pay. That's about, $174,000 or something, $178,000 in extra savings. This can actually be true. What are your thoughts on that, if we could do that? What do you think they're gonna say? Hell yeah. How do we do that? Absolutely. How do we do this? What do I gotta do? Right? That's the way you sell a deal. Because the reason why that's different from everyone else who says, hey Jim, I got a couple options for you, grab a pen and paper, is because number one is you're saying options. And there are certain trigger words that make put a prospect on guard. Not only that, but it reminds them that they have a choice to say yes or no because it's an option. Get it? Also, because you said I got a couple options, now you're requiring too much of their brain capacity. And one of the reasons why a lot of our clients don't move forward is because by human nature, human instinct is fear, and it's fear of making the wrong decision. So when you have too many options, what do? You want to think about it, right? But instead what I did was I painted out a solution and I served a solution to a problem that I understood that they have, and this is where your talk time comes in. But it doesn't mean that you spend 2.5 hours, 3 hours with them on the phone. All I'm trying to do on the very first conversation is build rapport and find the pain. I'm not selling, I'm not pitching, I'm not pricing deals at all. Because I need to give off the impression that what they get is what they get, right? Say at the end of the day, all of us, including my competitors and all the banks that you're talking to, Jim, we all go to the same cow for the milk. It's either Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA, or FHA. There's no other entity. The only difference with me, Jim, and the reason why most homeowners in your county prefer to work with us is because we're very transparent, and what I put in front of you is only what you qualify for. right? I can't even complete this call if I can't help you, Jim. So let me ask you a few basic questions first. Anyone got my script? All right, yeah, I like that, man. Shit, made me feel good. All right. So the script is very powerful because it gives you control, and again, it's all about positioning. So you're just basically reigning authority. But when you sell your deals in that method, not only are you garnering the loyalty, but you're setting up the urgency, right? Because what they want is say, yeah, how do I do that? And ultimately what I'm doing is, when you think about your traditional sales presentation, what most LOs do is they start off with price. And then they go to benefit and then logistics. So let me give you an example. Price is, hey Jim, I got a couple options for you. Option number 1, 4.375. Price, first thing that they heard, right? And then they say benefit, but that there's no closing costs. I could save you $300, blah, 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 right? And then they go through logistics. In order to do this, Jim, I need your tax returns, your pay stubs, your deck page, your mortgage statement. Make sense? All I'm doing is kind of switching up the order. So the sequential order actually comes down to benefits first. So again, I pre-frame them, I frame them back up into an emotional state where they need me, and then I go immediately into the benefits, because I understand that they're not buying the rate or they're not buying the fees. What they're buying is the result. They're buying the solution. So I start off with benefits, then I explain the logistics on how they could secure it. That's when they ask me, yes, Daniel, how do we do that? Then I explain the logistics. And then I go over the price. So I sell them on the result first. Simple tweak. Difference of saying, hey, currently right now, Jim, with your mortgage and your credit cards, you're paying $2,700. I got an idea. I think what we could do is bring it down to $1,600. Get it? Now they're buying into that result. They're experiencing it already. Believe it or not, they've already spent the money. They already spent the difference, right? And that's just how we think. And then when you explain the price at the very end, you have an easier time to overcome objections. Oh, but Daniel, that price of 5.95, that's pretty high. Loan Depot is actually quoting me 2.75% right now. Yeah, but at the end of the day, what they're quoting you is something that's not anywhere near this. That's a rate and term program that's not gonna give you the cash, it's not gonna improve your FICO, it's not gonna give you the assets, it's not gonna replenish your bank, it's not gonna position you where in 12 months you could reduce 9 years off the life of your loan. It's your choice. You could take that 2.95 or I could change your life. It's up to you. I know. Almost like amen. Probably should have been a pastor or something. But I hope you guys understand that, because I want you guys to pick up those little clues and those little tidbits to implement into your day, because there's really no knowing how long this window is going to be open where the eating is really good right now. Like, you guys are literally in a position right now, and I know Eric, you know, I know you guys' comp plan. You guys literally have an opportunity to make north of 50K per month. That's more than what people make annually. And if you're not reaping the opportunity, if you're not taking advantage of that opportunity, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You're letting some clown at Loan Depot or Quick Loan take your food. So don't let that happen. Really implement the tools and the techniques that I'm sharing with you today. Okay? Cool? Some good stuff? Yeah, okay, good. And so for those of you who haven't already, definitely add Sales Remastered to your Facebook stream, your YouTube, your LinkedIn, anywhere that you're on right now. Please add me. I thank you in advance for the likes, the comments, and the engagement, because it helps me build my brand. And that's all I'm trying to do. Cool? So I'll open up the last section to Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be more than happy to go over that.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
So, I know, like, oftentimes in here, like, not just our company, but a lot of other mortgage companies, a lot of people forget to get the assets. How important is that?
Assets?
Yeah.
So the question was, a lot of loan officers forget to ask about assets. And I think that the reason why they forget is because it's a kind of a difficult, sensitive question to ask, right? Like, how much do you have in checking and savings?
Daniel, will you add to the people who lie about it when they say, I don't have any?
Yeah.
Because then I find out later they have it, so
Yeah.
tag team that, please.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's a very important question that you need to really ask, because that is one of the pain points that is part of our service. Our service at the end of the day is we're licensed to sell money. That's it, right? We're licensed to sell services and solutions and remedies to financial pain. And so I like to do what's called bridge questions. These are funnel questions. And so funnel questions are basically, it starts off at the top with a very kind of unthreatening type message or type question, but then it allows you to bridge to different questions to funnel down and get really what you're trying to find out. So if I was trying to find out how much they average in checking and savings, because that's an asset question, right? Like people could have $500,000 in 401k. It doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna pull out their 401k. People could have 30 grand in checking in like stocks and bonds. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna liquidate it. The reason why they have that money is usually for tax benefits, as well as building the nest egg for the kids' college tuition. So really what we need to talk about are things that they see daily. What they see daily is their checking and savings account. And so the question is, well, how can I get my checking and savings? To answer your question, that's very important. That's one of the key things that you need to get on every single phone call, because it gives you the temperature of their fear. And one of the most powerful emotions on making someone act with urgency or captivating their attention and keeping their emotional state geared towards you is understanding what they fear. So a bridge question would first start off sound like this. Hey Jim, so besides the mortgage, what other debt do you have? Let's start off with credit card debt. And what do you think the average response is? I don't have any? I'll play with that. Because you're talking to 1% to 2% of the fucking economy and shit. All right, I'll play with that.
30 grand average.
Okay, so I'll go both ways just to kind of play devil's advocate, all right? So 30 grand. So 30 grand, okay, cool. And then how much in monthly payments do you send just the 30 grand in credit card debt? 800. And do you know if that 800 is the minimum or above and beyond? Barely making it. Now, do you guys see how much leverage I have there? It tells me how many things. Number one is that he barely has enough money to make the minimum payment. Number two is that if he makes the minimum payment, he's gonna have that debt for a very long time. Number three is that there are other expenses under the radar that I don't even know about that only positions them to make the minimum payment, right?
Let's twist it up. Oh, I don't care. I got 0% for the next 2 years.
Okay, cool. So just out of curiosity, for the next 2 years, I understand that. What is the total monthly payment that you send? 800?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And so did you do the formula to make sure that's going to be paid off in the next 2 years?
No.
Okay, so just curious, besides the 800, I'm sure you have other expenses like daycare, hobbies, or other, like utilities and different maintenance. But my question to you is, in this industry, we have what's called a net. And a net, you understand what the first net is. The net is your gross income minus your taxes, your contributions or whatever, and then you have your net. Well, I need to know what your net is. So your net is your net income, net out all of your expenses, your childcare, your utilities, your car payment, your hobbies, your dining out on the weekend. Basically, how much of your net income do you have left to put inside checking and savings?
Not much, but again, as I mentioned, I really don't care about that 30 grand at 0%. I'm gonna handle that.
No, absolutely, and I'm gonna let you handle it. But just curious, what's your net? Couple hundred, okay. And so if you're adding only a couple $100s into your current checking and savings, how much do you average in your checking and savings?
Couple grand, that's it.
Couple grand, okay. So do you see how I was able to funnel into a very sensitive question of how much is in their checking and savings?
Assets might save a loan down the road too, if they have high DTI and they need reserves or something, so it's good.
Correct, yeah, but I know that he has 30 grand in credit card debt. He's trying to play the system, right? So he's always looking for a good deal. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play to his demeanor. So I'm like, oh man, you're doing, like you're actually playing it smart. I salute you for working the system, because you're not paying any interest on this debt. But just out of curiosity, $800 over 2 years, that's only gonna pay off, I do the math real quick, right? 800 times 24 months. It's only gonna pay off this much. And then what happens is all of that built up interest comes back at you if you didn't pay off the balance. Then it just puts you in a position where you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. So just out of curiosity, if you only got $2,000 in credit card debt, what's your plan B? Like if you had an emergency expense, or if you had to fix the water heater, what would you do? Lean back on the credit card debt?
I don't know, didn't get that far.
Okay, so before I go any further, let me just ask a few basic questions to make sure I can help you first. Now I'm taking it away. Get it? Very powerful. Right. So, okay, cool. So outside of credit card debt, I'm sure you probably have maybe installment loans, car loans, et cetera, and all that. My main focus is can I help you get into a position where you don't have the stress and the weight of 30 grand in credit card debt that you have to pay off in 24 months? And then you move on to the, into the conversation. My explanation or my example to you is just how to get to the root question of checking and savings. Get it? So make sure that you're asking that. Assets in itself is not, in my opinion, besides paperwork, in case they have rental properties or their DTI is above a certain level, then you need assets. But really what I'm trying to find out is what's gonna make these people move. And one thing that I know what makes them move is the fear. There's a fear factor. So I'm building up fear, I'm planting seeds of fear. Does that answer your question? Cool.
Quick scenario.
Yeah?
No credit card debt.
No credit, oh yeah. So no credit card debt. Okay, cool. So who wants to role play it? You? Sweet. All right, cool. Hey Jim, besides your mortgage, what other debt do you have? Let's start off with credit card debt. Oh, awesome. You're one of the rare few. Congratulations. So in our industry, we have what's called a net net. A net net is basically your net income minus out, of course, your taxes, your 401k contributions, and basically what you bring home. So of what you bring home, you have your what's called net net. It's after all of your expenses, from the daycare to the utilities to your hobbies, everything else. What I'm looking for is how much of your income that month do you have left to put in the bank? 300 or 400? Okay, so there are other expenses. Do you guys see where I got it? I was able to funnel it down. And so even though he has no credit card debt, he has a lot of expenses where he's only netting $400. So now the thing is to find out, well, what's eating the income? What's eating up all your income? If you don't really have any credit card debt, there's got to be other expenses. What's eating up all your income?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not used to it.
Oh, listen, I have three brothers. I have three brothers.
It's her first day.
I have two best friends that are male. I've heard a lot worse. So please.
Habits? Okay, cool.
towards me,
Frivolous
I'm
spending, right? Okay, cool. So if someone doesn't have any debt, but they have low cash flow, it's gonna put you in a different direction to find out what's actually eating up their money. Because the reason why you called me for that 2.5 interest rate is because you don't understand mortgages like I do. So you think that you have to lower your interest rate by a full point in order to get any benefit, right? And so like, I gotta lower my interest rate by 2% if I wanna free up $1,000, because I need the $1,000 to get more habits, to afford my habits. And so I understand that my message is gonna be tailored to the freedom of being able to afford those habits and still having more money. Get it? You're just switching the dialogue of the conversation. So, but oftentimes what happens is say, oh yeah, I got $2,000, $3,000 net, I'm good. Okay, cool. So with the intent of this house, do you plan on keeping it or selling it after a few years? And even if they said that, oh, I plan on selling it in a few years, then I move into this question because I know this person doesn't have debt, but I need to make sure that I capture enough leverage to make him want to move with me, right? So I'm gonna ask him this question. I'm gonna say, hey Jim, the current condition of your property right now, on a scale of 1 through 10, 10 being the absolute best ideal condition. Like if you were to sell it today, you get top dollar, right? The ideal condition of the property, what would you rate it on a scale of 1 through 10? What do you think they're gonna say? 7. Yeah, most of the time it's 7, right? These people are actually pretty honest. So I'm gonna say, okay, Jim, what do you think you could do to the home to make it a 10? And then they're gonna start like, well, the wife wants to do the master bedroom or the master bathroom. We're thinking about doing the kitchen. And what you're doing is you're making them experience it, right? So he's thinking of every single thing, like I wanna do a new garage, we need to do the driveway. Okay, cool. So if you were to do those things, Jim, what would that do to your property value? Oh, we'd be the perfect house on the block. You see how I'm making him experience it? Oh man, we'd have probably another $50,000, $60,000 equity. Got it. How much you think it would take to do those improvements? Probably about 30 grand. Now I have a lot of leverage. Get it? I can make your house a perfect 10, Jim. This is towards the end. You see? So it doesn't matter if they have no debt or they're in a good position. Everyone can be better. The whole reason why they're on the phone with you is because they are looking for the opportunity to be in a better position. All you need to find out is what their perception of that better position is. Whether it's afford an expensive drug habit, whether it's afford credit card debt, or whether it's to retire by the time they're 53 because they want to, roam the Himalayas or backpack in Italy with their wife. Whatever it is, your message then conforms to what exactly they want. Get it? So that's the primary difference why most loan officers are not selling as much as they should, is because it's very generic. It's the difference of saying, hey Jim, I can get you the $25,000 cash out on a 30-year fix at 4.5, no cost, what do you think? Versus saying, hey Jim, I can remove $25,000 of credit card debt, boost up your FICO, create enough cash flow to replenish your checking and savings, put enough money in the bank where you and your family and your 4 kids are going to sleep very easily, and position you to reduce your term by 9 years in the next 12 months. That's a little bit more conform to them. Get it? So I'm using words and I'm using different things that actually apply to them. And that tailored message builds the loyalty. It fosters the urgency because you're speaking to them using words that they say.